You know, we're reminded of what a dark chapter of American history Donald Trump is taking us through still. And we're reminded of that because we see such extraordinary grace, goodness, decency,
love of
patriotism,
country.
Love of country from all those other candidates. Let's bring in right now Pulitzer Prize-winning author and presidential historian Doris Kearns. Good one,
By the way,
Doris.
that was free speech on Donald Trump's part.
Early on, it was not as he was whipping people into a frenzy on the 6th. Doris, you and I have had the honor of knowing a lot of people that we saw there, and I just want to underline one point before. You know, for people that might go, oh, well, that was then, and they were all a good old boys club. No. I look at Goldwater, who couldn't have disagreed more with LBJ than he did, being graceful. McGovern could not have been more horrified at the prospects of 4 more years of Vietnam and Nixon. Hubert Humphrey, who could not have been more horrified that Richard Nixon was winning in '68. Gerald Ford, broken-hearted, voice stripped, raw. All of these races, most of these races, so close. Bob Dole, I was flying with him during the campaign, and he just kept whispering what he said through the entire campaign. I can't believe this guy is beating me. This World War II veteran against somebody that he thought was a draft dodger. He never said it. But he couldn't believe it. George H.W. Bush thinking the same thing. Wait, I can't believe it. And then the two most, I think, extreme examples, Richard Nixon, who conceded a race when, a lot of people around him in 1960 were saying they stole Illinois from you. He said it didn't matter. And then Al Gore, in one of the few good moments of his 2000 campaign where we saw into the heart of Al Gore, was for him, tragically, his concession speech. But a concession speech, one of the most patriotic concession speeches, when Al Gore knew that 5 Republican appointees to the nominees to the Supreme Court voted against him, and 4 Democratic appointees voted for him, still went out, gave an extraordinarily gracious concession speech that helped bring the country together. My God, the contrast with this man, this thrice indicted man, could not be greater, could it, Doris?
You know, Joe, I think you should everybody should show again what you just showed, that conjunction of what's happened in every other time in our history except 1860 and what happened now. I mean, it just shows, you're right, the grace of those people. You can imagine how hard it is for them. They've lost an election. I just looked at all these concession speeches the other day, maybe a nerdy thing to do, but it made me so emotional to realize exactly what you're saying, that they come out there, they know they've disappointed their followers, they feel really sad, and yet they know that the peaceful transition of power is a bedrock for our country. And the reason why I think showing those two things together, as you did this morning, people may just think this is just words, the peaceful transition of power. But in a democracy, the simplest term of a democracy is you can vote your leaders in or you can throw them out. And if they're thrown out, they have to have the grace and the humility to accept that. And every other time, only in 1860. And one of the things Lincoln said, our democracy will not exist. That's why the Civil War partly had to be fought. If you can decide you're the minority in the South, you're the Democratic Party, you lost the election, you decide, okay, I'm not going to accept the loss, I'm going to secede from the Union. He said, if we can't prove that that can't happen, democracy will be an absurdity. And I think we have to just go over those concession speeches again and again. I mean, look at Al Gore's speech. My husband, luckily, was partly able to help him on that speech, but it was the way he delivered it was such a conversational style, such an emotion, you know, and he was able to say, I don't agree with the decision, but the Supreme Court has spoken. It is the law of the land. And then he talked about what's over Harvard Law School, not under man, but under God and under the law. So the rule of law is at issue right now. And I think if we could just play those over and over again to show the American people. This has been our tradition. You know, the concession speeches started in 1896. The first one that was on the radio was Al Smith conceding to Hoover. The next one was a newsreel when Willkie conceded to FDR. And then Adlai Stevenson gave the first one on television. And he went back to a Lincoln thing. So there was a sense of a family tree of all these people knowing how important it was. Only Donald Trump, one man, has not done that. You know, at the end of Al Gore's speech, he reprised something at the Democratic convention for Clinton and Gore. They had this rant at the end, a chant. It's time for them to go. It's time for them to go. So finally, at the end of Al Gore's speech, he brought that back up in another way. He said, it's time for me to go. He said that peacefully, and he wished that God would stewardship Bush's election. So, I mean, where are these people now? Maybe that should be the chant. It's time for him to go.
Doris, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that should be mandatory viewing, to just sit and watch that clip. And I was thinking, Joe mentioned George H.W. Bush 41, and how devastating that loss was for a man who was so proud that he was going to be a one-term president. He couldn't believe he had lost to Bill Clinton. And yet, famously, the note he left in the Oval Office for Bill Clinton on January 20th, 1993, on the day of President Clinton's inauguration, he gets into the Oval Office and finds a note, an incredibly gracious note. Part of it is, you will be our president when you read this note. I wish you well. I wish your family well. Your success now is our country's success. I am rooting hard for you. Good luck. Signed, George. And that is a reminder, and those clips
Amazing,
we watch
right?
is a reminder of who we are and who we're supposed to be and how this is supposed to go, and that Donald Trump does represent a deviation from history. But, Doris, it seems to me we have to confront the fact that still, all these years on now, there is a large segment of the population who is saying, we want that, and we want it again.
And that's the reason why the real battle to be fought here, and this is what you were talking about just a little bit earlier, is the battle of public sentiment. I mean, the law cases are going to be absolutely critical, but beyond those law cases, the country has to be persuaded that what has been done by President Trump, former President Trump, is wrong. You know, one of the things Lincoln said is that even more important than laws of Congress, even more important than judicial decisions, is public sentiment. And as long as public sentiment is educated, as it was in the 1850s and the 1860s, finally, with organizing, with movements, the anti-slavery movement was able to make a sort of a majority view in the North that this was wrong. It was against the ideals of the country. And that allowed the whole thing to happen. And that's what has to happen now. It's very important that I think this is why it's so important that the trial be publicized, that it be essentially on television. It's the most important thing that's going to happen to us is how are we going to feel about somebody who's violated the ideals of the country, who is wrong. You know, one of the things, to go back to George Bush Sr., there's a great story he tells that he came home one day after having scored 3 goals in soccer. He was so happy. He said to his mother, I scored 3 goals. And then his mother, who loved competitiveness and wanted ambition, said, yes, but George, how did the team do? How did the team do? And that's the important thing. You need people in that office who run for office who feel something is more important than their victory. It's the country. It's the team. And if you can't accept that, then the democracy doesn't work. And that's what has to be ridden home to the American people. If they could see that clip over and over again, they'll see how far this goes from the grace and the dignity of all the other people that have run for our office, lost and took it, and then the country moved on.